Hello everyone, VJose32 back again. It's been a while since you've seen my face, so here I am in all my glory. I decided to do something today that I haven't done in a while. Been wanting to do it for a while, but I haven't done it in quite some time. And that is a top 10 video. Today's top 10 video is going to be a little bit different, maybe slightly different than usual. I'm not actually going to be counting down from, 10 to 1 or anything like that. I'm just going to be giving you a list of 10 of the worst card companies ever. And there's different reasons for different ones. Some of them might just be customer service issues. Others might be product issues. Others just might be a whole lack of issues. And I know some of them might not go down as too popular with some people, but it is what it is. So let us get started with it. Now, before I get started with the list, I do have one dishonorable mention. Honorable mention, dishonorable, whatever, that I wanted to mention. They do produce a lot of nice decks. However, their customer service, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, is absolute crap, pretty much non-existent. And that would be David Blaine's website. Not to mention, half of the time it seems like his website, his store doesn't even work. But, I mean, the customer service, they don't respond to messages or anything like that. It's just horrible. Outside of that, good product, customer service, But I just want to mention that one as a dishonorable mention. Now, let's get started with the countdown. Well, not even a countdown. I'm just going to list 10 because I think they're all crap, one way or another, and deserve some kind of a mention. I don't think that anyone is really worse than the other. If you're crap, you're crap. The first one on the list, though, is bmpokerworld.com. Of course, bmpokerworld.com no longer exists. The biggest problem was the owner. The former owner, was a guy named Mike. He also used to own the UnitedCards.com, and he was just kind of a big jerk. And on the forums, he was not very nice at all, and he used to make a lot of complaints about all these other Kickstarter creators and their projects, and nitpick everything, and blah, blah, blah. And he would also try to prevent, at the end, was preventing a lot of creators from even using the forum to promote their projects for one reason or another. I think. I don't really remember. But his website, his website had a lot of nice playing cards and some decent deals. However, if you try to ask for any kind of like a refund because your package got lost, look out, because he will blow a gasket and ban you. And that happened to me. It's happened to other people. I also, one time, asked them to make a small change to my order. It wasn't even, it was the same price for the decks from what I can recall, but I just wanted to change one deck with another deck. And he made this big deal about it, saying it was like a big hassle, and it would screw up his inventories and all that crap. And it's like, I just asked you if you could do it. I didn't say, do it. I just asked politely if he can make the change, and he's making a huge, massive deal about it. He did make the change, I believe, but he made a huge, big hassle about it. And then, of course, I placed this order for someone in the Middle East, I think it was. I don't remember if it was a contest prize or what it was, but it was a package that got shipped out to the Middle East. It never made it, got lost, whatever. At least as far as I know, it never made it. Last I checked, last I heard, but that was years ago. And I asked him, if he could refund me because it never made it. And, he could make a claim with USPS or whatever to get his money back. And he blew a gasket and basically said, hell no. And then he would not allow me to buy anything on his website ever again. Although, towards the end, we did kind of make up, and he did allow me to buy stuff, although I didn't really place any orders on his website at that point in time. And then he completely disappeared. Not to mention his attitude towards a lot of the creators on Kickstarter. And then he also ran his own project on Kickstarter, which failed not once, but twice. And he didn't really listen to anyone's feedback on the forum, so kind of hypocritical. And it's kind of funny seeing as how he was making all these suggestions and stuff like that about other Kickstarter projects and saying, acting like he knew everything, and then he turns around and he can't even successfully fund a project. And then he just completely disappeared from the card world. Thank goodness. Next on the list is this website, alloysstudio.com. Again, the biggest problem is customer service or lack thereof. I know they personally still owe me some stuff that I never got. And I know there's other people as well that did not get what they paid for. And on top of that, it seems like this whole year, they have not released any new products. They seem to have disappeared. But, yeah. Overall, it's just poor customer service. Not really, it just wasn't there. And then, basically, a lot of the decks were very similar, especially the faces and everything. But, I mean, they were okay for the most part, the decks, but some similarities. And, oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention is their tally holes. Now, I love tally holes, especially circle backs, and a lot of people do. But when you release 6 different colors at the exact same time, it's a bit excessive. And then when you do it a second time, it's even more excessive. And they were also not cheap. They're, $13, $15 each, so it adds up for 6 decks. I mean, they're nice colors, they're nice decks. I like tally holes, but it's just a little bit excessive. Anyways, so Alloys Studio has made the cut for really kind of minor reasons, I guess. Next on the list, this might piss off some people, but it's the Blue Crown. And the reasons are because it seems like this whole website company has taken a massive nosedive in everything. It seems like almost all of the Magic DVDs and downloads and stuff is all Alex Pandrea. It seems like he can't get any magicians to do stuff for his website anymore, which is not a good sign. From what I can recall, this past year, Christmas time, he did not have any kind of holiday special that I can recall. Definitely nothing for Black Friday that I can recall. And playing card wise, they have taken a massive nosedive. All they're doing is releasing more colors in the NLC decks, more versions in the NLC decks, and it's getting ridiculous. I mean, I understand it's his version of like a rider back and everything, but it gets to a point where it's just getting ridiculous, and it's just a cash grab in my opinion. When you're releasing a brand new shiny version of the same thing, it's just a cash grab. Why not just continue printing the same thing over and over instead? And if people really want to buy more, they can buy them. Instead of going, brand new version, come buy it. And apparently they got a new deck coming out tomorrow, the 16th, which is another NLC deck in black. Another version of a deck that's already been released. That's getting ridiculous. Then there's House of Playing Cards, which has been pretty much non-existent for like a year and a half, 2 years, whatever. The website still exists for some unknown reason, but they have not had any new releases there in like 2 or 3 years. It's ridiculous. So why it still exists, I don't know. And again, none of the creators that actually did projects or decks with House of Playing Cards does anything with House of Playing Cards anymore. And apparently, they didn't pay a whole lot to the creators anyway of these decks. And then there's this luxury thing, which when you click on it, not found. It goes to nothing. Yet this has been here for at least 3 years on their website, and they have done nothing with it, and it's still there. It's kind of like, just get rid of it already. If you're not doing anything with the luxury brand, luxury link page, and get rid of it. It seems like it's ridiculous that he still has it on there when he hasn't done anything with it. Nothing has been going on with House of Playing Cards. Barely anything has been going on with the Blue Crown. They have nobody creating decks except for Alex Pandrea coming up with new colors in the NLC decks, and it's just gone down the toilet, in my opinion. Sorry, but that's just the way I feel. The next one on the list, and that is the Elite Playing Cards. Elite Playing Cards. In my opinion, it just seems like they keep doing the same thing over and over with playing cards. Just brand new box. Some differences here and there, but for the most part, it's very similar from deck to deck. And now, for the last couple of decks they've done, they've been recolors. A new red Bicycle Evolution deck, which I reviewed recently. A red, whatchamacallit, they don't even have it listed on the website. Red Bicycle 1 million deck. It seems like they're not even selling anything on the website anymore. Everything is sold out, sold out, sold out. Which kind of begs the question, why do they even have a store? And again, it just seems like the decks are very similar from one to another. A lot of gold colors and dark colors. Court cards, basically standard, and all that crap. On top of that, there is what happened with the Cardissons group. Cardissons is a couple of artists that did some decks for Elite Playing Cards, and then they launched a Kickstarter page profile as the Cardissons brand, which was apparently run by Elite Playing Cards as well. And Elite Playing Cards never paid them a cent for any of the decks that they designed. Nothing. And then there was fulfillment issues as well with some of those Cardissons projects. And Cardissons finally said, you know what, screw it, and they've launched their own project on Kickstarter, the Bicycle Paragon, which is successful and is shipping now or soon. And I'm glad to see that they're doing it on their own. Elite Playing Cards, again, has kind of gone to tubes as well since they're just doing recolors. I should also point out that when I commented on the recolors on their Facebook page, they blocked me. It was like that fast. It was just made a comment, blocked. And I was not the only one. And I didn't say anything negative. I just kind of questioned these recolors, and I was blocked. That to me is just unprofessional, uncalled for, and is crap. And that is why Elite Playing Cards is on the list. Next on the list, it also doesn't exist anymore, thankfully, and that is CircleCityCards.com. Circle City Cards, of course, was co-owned by Russell Kurtzeval and Adam Clarkson. Adam Clarkson and Russell Kurtzeval both had problems with pretty much all of the Kickstarter projects. Lack of funding because they did not charge enough for shipping, or did not charge enough for the decks, or both, which caused problems with fulfillment. Adam Clarkson took money from his last project, the Bicycle Army Men, and spent it elsewhere, at least some of it anyways, and then the project never got produced because of legal problems, and then when the problems were resolved, he just gave up because he no longer had the money to produce the decks with, and offered refunds, which is the right thing to do. Unfortunately, it was, you'll get a refund, maybe, eventually. And I never did get a refund, despite being promised and assured I would get it. And then there was a whole questionable tactic of offering refunds to people who mailed in a self-addressed stamped envelope without any assurances or guarantees that they would actually get anything sent back. And then finally he gave in to demands and did issue refunds via PayPal, but of course I can't do PayPal. And I can't send in a self-addressed stamped envelope because I'm in Canada, which is also, again, it's an issue. The whole thing is an issue for international customers. And so I never got anything. But screw him. Russell Kurtzeval used to be a good guy. had some nice decks and designs. He spent a lot of time sticking up for Adam Clarkson and helping him out with making sure the project was fulfilled and everything. And then he turns around and does the exact same thing. The Bicycle Quicksilver deck, apparently he did not make enough money, did not charge enough money for it, was not able to do fulfillment, at least internationally, and a lot of people that I know are still waiting. I know I'm still waiting. Although, a couple months ago I know people were receiving stuff, but I never did get anything. So absolutely, positively, they deserve to be on there. And then they both just basically effed off. They both disappeared, screwed off. They haven't done anything. They've disappeared from the card community despite being fixers of the card community for a couple of years at least. And they're just gone. Now, you might be asking if I'm going to mention people like Altus Management and Thorough Card Company and all that. I've already done, I think, worst Kickstarters and stuff like that. I'm not going to mention every single horrible Kickstarter project. I'm trying to keep this to companies that have done multiple decks and releases, so let's continue. Alright, so I've decided to do another dishonorable mention, actually two dishonorable mentions. Basically, they haven't really done anything that bad. They're just lack of creativity or imagination. The first, as you can see, is MagicMakersInc.com, which has not really produced, they haven't produced any new decks, at least not custom decks, in a few years. But previously, they did come up with a bunch of decks. They were these different bicycle branded decks. There's color decks, there was a Scorpion deck, the Spider deck, the Tetra deck, the Rainbow deck, the reverse backs, Red Dragon, Skull deck. There's the there was also the bicycle faded backs, and basically they're all just different versions of rider backs with basically standard faces and a couple of gaff cards. Nothing overly creative. No, they didn't do nothing with the back designs, just different colors, and not much with the faces either. They're fine, but they could have been a lot better in hindsight. The other one I wanted to add as a dishonorable mention is Pure Imagination Projects, because likewise, not a whole lot of imagination. The Midas deck was being sold for $30. I got no freaking idea because it's not worth anywhere near $30. $10 maybe. $30? No way. This deck, for instance, Les Miley and the Voyages editions, they had potential based on based on some kind of a movie to have, some customizations or whatever. But sadly, the only thing they did was the back design and a little bit on the Ace and the Jokers. Everything else is completely standard. And then the Icons deck, again, completely standard on the faces. And the back design, well, not overly exciting. And the Cherries deck, kind of a knockoff of the Jerry's Nugget. Very intentional knockoff, or new version of the Jerry's Nuggets, obviously intended to make some money. And again, just standard faces. And what I've noticed is on their website, all these decks are actually sold out, and I haven't seen anything new from them in several months. They did have another project on Kickstarter for some decks, which again sadly had standard faces with a decent back design, and it did not fund, and then apparently they gave up. They used to have them on the website, and they're no longer on the website. So as far as I know, I don't know. That doesn't look like they're doing anything else. They sold out on all their projects. They haven't launched anything new. If they had put a little more effort and creativity into the projects, they might still be around. They might actually have funded better. or funded those last decks. And those last decks did have good potential, a good idea, good concept, but nothing. There was nothing on the faces that fit with the theme, which was it was a decades decks or whatever they were called, and they were inspired by the 50s and the 60s, and there's probably going to be others from different decades, but sadly there was nothing on the faces to represent those decades, so it was just, it could have been better. Another thing, Pure Imagination Projects has done a lot of fulfillment, or some fulfillment for different projects. Maybe that's what they're focusing on. What I do know is that when they did fulfillment for the Icons decks, there was definitely some issues, and that's another thing to keep in mind. Anyways, those are just a couple of dishonorable mentions. I was going to add them in, but I decided to do somebody else instead. Who? Whoops. Who that is? Well, Kickstarter. I know you know what they're saying. Kickstarter is not a playing card company or website. However, the vast majority of decks seem to come from Kickstarter, so I felt it necessary to include them. I didn't want to, I wasn't going to, but then I decided, screw it, I'm going to do them. Why are they one of the worst playing card projects or playing card companies when they produce so many beautiful decks, amazing decks? Well, because there's a lot of decks that are not so good. But more importantly, because on multiple occasions, Kickstarter has allowed people to get screwed over with playing card projects and has done nothing about it. All they do is collect money from the projects and wipe their hands clean. And to me, that is very much like a mafia, like a mob. They're very much like a gang. They go around collecting their money from different places, and then they wipe their hands free and they take off. That's just, it just kind of seems to fit. Look at this guy giving a finger. He's giving a finger to you, Kickstarter. Anyway, not only have they allowed people to get screwed over on multiple occasions and not done anything about it, but so many times you see projects that are crap, half-assed, incomplete, that are allowed to launch, that don't make it, that are a waste of time, and they're just failures from the start, and for some reason were approved. It would be damn impressive if Kickstarter actually had somebody approving the projects and saying, you know what, this is crap, we can't make any money off of it, it's not going to fund, so we're not going to approve it. But no, they just approve everything and anything without bothering to check anything. And then of course there's the copyright issues as well. That would be nice if they actually did something with before allowing them to launch. There should not be projects that have copyright issues allowed to launch. And I can go on and on and on. Personally, I think it would be wonderful if these guys all grew up. I remember watching this movie, kids. Anyways, it would be nice if Kickstarter actually said, you know what, anyone wants to launch a Kickstarter project has to have a $10,000 goal. That way, anything that is crap, there's zero chance of funding, and everything that is good will fund. It should be an even playing field for every single playing card project. Not, oh, this guy's gonna have a $500 goal, and then it's crap, but he funds anyways because it's only $500. But a beautiful deck with a $10,000 goal does not make it, and it doesn't get printed. So Kickstarter, definitely. So next on the list is this. TPX Designs, which apparently does not exist anymore. The site is expired anyways, even though for some reason you can still see it. Of course, they did a few different decks via Kickstarter and whatnot. They were decent enough. They could have been a little bit better. The biggest problem is that with the last two projects, especially the very last one, the Bicycle Meridian deck, nothing ever happened. Nothing was produced, nothing was fulfilled. The owner, Noel, or whatever his name is, I'm not even 100% sure if that's his real name, knowing what I know now, but he basically effed off. He took off, he went to a tropical destination, whatever, with the money, spent all the money, apparently he was broke, made an update saying he was in the hospital, but that was apparently not true, and he's taken off. And then I know at the very least, there's some people with the second last project he did, the King of Kings, that also got screwed. Myself, I'm owed over $90 worth of stuff from that project, and he even said he was going to send stuff to me and a refund on the poker chips, which he did not get produced for whatever reason, but that never happened, and at least one other person had the same issue. Of course, the biggest problem I have that I don't understand is why Kickstarter allowed him to delete his account before he fulfilled the last project. That to me is very sketchy and unacceptable, and I do not understand why Kickstarter allowed that to happen. Hopefully there is going to be some lawyers on his ass sooner than later, but we'll find. I guess we'll see what happens. And there's other creators that might have the same problem too. But anyways, I thought I would mention it because he did, have some successful projects and whatnot, and then he just disappeared. One I gotta mention for sure, Dexter.com, which apparently will be right back. Although it's been like this for a few months at least. I don't know what they're doing, what they're planning, if anything. As far as I'm concerned, they should just take the website and get rid of it. Nobody is interested. They had marginal support for most of their projects. Barely funded most of their projects. In fact, the biggest problem is how unethical the whole website was. And it was against the North America Crowdfunding Association's rules, basically, because the site is run by Justin Buck, or at least I think it was, one of the Bucks. And then you had Dan and Dave always putting in a couple $1,000 just to make sure the project's funded. Not to mention, the first couple decks and this one, the Alice of Wonderland decks, were really subpar, lackluster, and would not have funded on Kickstarter if they did go on Kickstarter. A couple others were pretty decent. Like the Revelations deck was the nicest one they did. This one, the Alice in Wonderland deck, had nothing to do with Alice in Wonderland except for the name, which begs the question why they bothered. But, yeah, it's just overly unethical how they had the Bucks and also other anonymous pledges saving projects that had no business being saved for the most part. And they had, especially the first couple of projects, this Alice in Wonderland deck, there was design lines or whatever it was. I do have that one. It was okay. It wasn't great. But there was another other one. They were designed by these big design firms who know nothing about playing cards, apparently, and should not be designing playing cards. If they were really serious about actual good projects and playing cards, they should have reached out to people like Paul Carpenter and Jackson Robinson and actual got actual decks that people would have backed and would have supported and actually would have done something for the website. Not, these big design firms that don't know anything about playing cards. So that's that. Alright, the next one I gotta mention is Murs67.com, also known on Amazon as Stay-at-Home Dads. We know games. Apparently he's a stay-at-home dad who knows games. But apparently does not have a whole lot of artistic abilities when it comes to decks. First of all, I should mention, I have gone a few different things from him in the past, and a lot of the times he did not package things properly. I just want to get that out there. The last couple times that I did get stuff from him, he did wrap stuff up in bubble wrap. But originally, before I made a deal of it, he used to just kind of throw stuff in a regular envelope with no protection. And that's just not something that's acceptable with playing cards because they'll get damaged, especially knowing USB-C and other post offices. You gotta at the very least use the bubble wrap envelope, and it's even better if you also use bubble wrap on the cards. And I'm happy to say that he's doing that now, but he wasn't originally. My biggest problem with him is his decks and lack of creativity with them. He's got these, for instance, the Trace series, which is just clip art basically on rider backs with standard faces. Nothing overly exciting. There's others we could talk about. The Feral decks, again, more clip art with animal themes. Joy. They're okay. I got them myself, and the Trace decks. Just because I wanted to say I had them, but they're not overly exciting. They're just clip art. We've got other exclusives we'll talk about. Apparently this is an exclusive for him too. A 6-handed 500 deck. Did not know that. But it's just standard again. I should mention these horrible Christmas decks. Santa backs. Do not get them. $40 for this. $39, I should say, for this is a ripoff. They are not the real Santa backs. They're just cheap reprints. Get the original ones. They're actually worth it. These, they're just weird. Look at it here. You can see a better image. Why would you want to get the Santa back? It's not the real Santa back. It's got green and red on the backs. And then there's the red and green and red version as well. And clip art on the court cards, as you can see, like most of his other decks. And whatnot. I'm not even sure why he would be allowed to do that with copyrighted USB-C decks, but he must know somebody at USB-C because he is also able to produce all these different decks and somehow able to afford it. I should mention a few others. These tie-dye decks are actually the best ones he did because they're nice, colorful for fanning and stuff like that, but again, more clip art. The Trace decks, he has like 8 different colors, and they're all just got like clipboard and stuff, not very exciting. And then he's got these 6 different red, white, and blue series decks. It's just 6 different ways to color the back designs in red, white, and blue and be overly patriotic. I never got them because blah, and also they're overly patriotic and I'm not interested because I'm not American. So yeah, that's the extent of his artistic abilities and it's not good. I should also point out that a lot of these decks, like the Trace series decks, were overly expensive at the start. When he launched them at first, he was selling them on eBay and on his website. They were like $35, $40 each. So you can imagine what you're paying for all 8 decks. It was ridiculously overpriced, a ripoff, a scam almost, you could say. The whole concept was, brand new decks, come buy them. They're $40 each, but they're brand new, they're cool, the new colors, all sorts of decks, get all of them. And then eventually, once idiots stop buying them for $40 each, eventually they come down to $8.95 each. Now is the time to buy them because now they're on sale, $8.95 each. But yeah, do not buy his decks when he first releases them because they will be overpriced. He has not released any new decks in a while. The last ones were those stupid red, white, and blue decks. Not trying to be offensive to the American colors and anything like that, but the designs, those decks, are not good. Stop making decks of cards that nobody wants to buy. By the way, I should mention that collectors want nothing to do with his decks because they are pretty much atrocious. aside from like the tie-dye decks that are not bad, the fuel decks and Play Series decks are kind of okay, but they're not really good. None of them are really good. And stay away from the Santa backs, please. Just get the originals, the real decks. These might seem like they're cheaper, more affordable, but they're still not worth it. By the way, another questionable thing. When you can get the Santa back that he's selling for $14.95 and get the other one for the same price, that's $30 each. That's $30 basically for 2 decks. Why on earth would you buy both decks for $39? That's just poor mathematics on his part. He should not be selling that at that price. He should be selling it for like $28 or something, you know. Make it a deal. Don't make it a steal. So again, let's quickly run down the list before I get to the last entrant into the worst card companies of like all time. So we had B in Poker World because the owner was a dick. Aloy's Studio because poor customer service and a little bit of excessiveness on all these tally-ho decks that they produced and whatnot. And also they apparently have disappeared. We had the Blue Crown and House of Playing Cards because lack of imagination and creativity, just NOC decks galore and nothing going on with House of Playing Cards. Zip going on with that site. Then we had Elite Playing Cards because of, again, kind of being dicks, and also just everything is just very similar with their playing cards, and also screwing their artists over. We had Circle City Cards because they screwed people over, both creators, and they still owe people stuff, especially me. But yeah, it was a horrible company. Then there's TPX Designs again, screwed people over. Somehow was allowed to delete his account on Kickstarter even though he did not fulfill his last project or even complete the second last project. Then there is Dexter because ethical issues with the Bucks Mackey projects on a website owned by their brother, just to make sure they funded, not to mention decks that were just not on par and would not fund if they were on Kickstarter. I guarantee you, most of them. Maybe 1 or 2 would fund, but the others, not attention hell. And then there was Murs 67 because poor shipping practices at times, and his decks are some of the just lamest decks around. They were not overly creative, a lot of clip art. Collectors disliked them very much, and they were extremely overpriced at launch just to rip people off. Here's a brand new spanking deck. It's just clip art and rider back, but it's brand new. But it's $30 each or $40 each. And then 8 months later, only $10 each. Yeah, thanks a lot. Fortunately, I was not stupid and did not do that. And then there was Kickstarter for allowing people to get screwed over, allowing crap to launch, and just not, just approving everything and anything related to playing cards and other projects. And there were some dishonorable mentions, of course, for David Blaine for poor customer service, and also Magic Makers Inc. and Pure Imagination Projects for lack of creativity. And now it's time for the last one, and I consider it numero uno on the list. Numero uno, so let's get to that one. I am going to do one more dishonorable mention that I had to mention before getting on to the final one. Sorry to disappoint you. And this is Elite Playing Cards, Expert Playing Cards and Legends Playing Cards. More so Expert Playing Cards, but since they're produced from the same company, the same factory, I felt it was not fair to exclude one or the other. But it's more so for Elite playing cards because it seems like every project that is produced for Elite playing cards has excessive delays, all sorts of issues, unacceptable things. The Dark Venexiana decks had a major problem where they mixed up both decks. They put them in the wrong tuck cases. Just unacceptable in my opinion. And just like I said, all sorts of delays and problems. Legends not having so many problems, but they're still produced at the same factory and everything, so I figured they should be a part of that. I mean, I know USPC has delays and stuff like that, but USPC does not put decks in the wrong tuck cases. They do not have all sorts of problems, and it does not take over a month for decks to go via slow boat from the factory to the fulfillment center. You know, just all sorts of stuff. I hate to really mention expert playing cards and legends, but I felt that I would just give them a little dishonorable mention. That's it. There's just excessive delays and all sorts of issues, especially with the expert playing card company's side of things. That's that. One on the list? No, it's not me. It's Illusionist. Why would I consider Illusionist like one of the worst card companies around? First of all, massive overkill on Daniel Madison. It is freaking sick, and people have had enough of it. It's just Madison this, Madison that. Also, major overkill on emails and teasers, and especially lately. And they're even texting people. It's like, leave people alone. Stop harassing them with new products and stuff. Also, sadly, all these decks they've been producing this year have been lackluster. All practically Madison Presents. Most of them are pretty crappy. The Prohibition decks were really nice. Everything else, not very nice. And it's just, people are getting tired of Daniel Madison. Another thing is kind of a lack of commitment for stuff. For a long time, they were talking about this rewards store. You know how 311 has the elite stuff, and 311 does it right. Well, Illusionist for a long time was saying, oh yeah, we're going to have rewards and stuff like that. And they do have it somewhat, but you actually have to find it. I don't know where it is. There's nothing that says rewards. It's just ridiculous. It's kind of hidden. It's there, but it's hidden. It's hard to find. And it's just, they don't give a damn about it. And it took forever for them to actually get around to doing that. And then there is the whole Black Club membership and lack thereof. They don't really do anything for Black Club members. They don't really give anything to Black Club members. Oh yeah, they give every free deck, every new deck free, I should say. But you have to pay shipping, which is fine. I don't mind that. However, it's not every new deck free, because if they consider a deck limited, which they haven't done lately, because I know myself and I'm sure other people have said, you know what, if you're going to label every other deck limited, then that's just crap. But yeah, any deck they want, they can say it's a limited deck, even though there's at least 2,500 or 3,000 produced, if not more, maybe 5,000 in most cases, I think. But it's limited, so they're not giving it for free. To me, last time I checked before, the decks that they had that were limited were decks like the Red Arcane, and the Gold Arcane, the Black Ghost First Edition, and other decks that they never actually sold. The Red LTD deck comes to mind as well. But now, all of a sudden, their limited edition decks are actually selling. So, kind of defeats the purpose. I can understand if they don't want to give a deck away for free because it's limited, but if that's the case, don't freaking sell it. And again, I'd rather buy it than what they used to do before. They haven't done it lately, go figure. But before, they used to say, here's a brand new Madison Rounders deck, or Madison Dealers. But here's another one in a different special limited edition color. If you want to get it though, you have to buy a brick and then you get another one free. You get the special limited edition one free. And I know I'm just kind of rattling incoherently a little bit, but you know what I mean. Collectors like myself, we want to get all the different decks, but we don't want to buy 12 decks that we don't need just to get the one for free. I'd rather pay a little bit extra or whatever to get the limited edition one, if that's the case. And to me, that whole buy 12, get one free is just a very cheap, lame way of selling all these decks that they printed that nobody really wants to buy anyway. And then people like myself get stuck with 12 decks we don't freaking need or want just to get the one deck. Fortunately, they have not done that lately. I should say that Conjuring Arts used to do that, or does that as well at times, but whatever. I'm not into that anymore. I won't participate in that anymore. Unless it's a very good deck. Which Illusionist has not been doing lately. Most of the decks have not been good. The Steelers have been okay. The SWE deck, not so much. The Sleepers deck was kind of weird. A little bit interesting, but weird. And so forth and so forth. And who knows what's coming next. But just, I'm sick and tired of Daniel Madison. Other people are. Illusionist decks have gone down in value. Nobody even wants to buy them. I know people, including myself, who are trying to sell them. Nobody wants them because nobody likes them. The value has gone downhill instead of going up. Even limited decks like the Gold Arcanes and the Red Arcanes, the value has just gone down, and that's just ridiculous. And then, of course, there's the whole Black Club membership thing costing almost $150 a year for a membership that you're not really getting anything for. I just got a deck from Fury 11 as an elite member. A membership, a membership that cost me nothing other than accumulating 10,000 points over the last 5 years, approximately, or 4 years, whatever it is. Not to mention getting free points during the holidays, even if it's just 50 points at a time, or 100 points at a time, it still adds up. And they just gave me the opportunity to buy a very limited deck that they only had 100 available, and I did get one. And it cost me nothing for the membership. Illusionist, they don't do anything like this. Never, ever, ever, ever. The most they do is they give you some freebies during the Black Friday or when you renew your membership. But then they end up selling those decks or giving you those decks again later on. So it kind of, I don't know, it seems unnecessary. Ridiculous. I know a lot of people have not renewed their memberships or won't be renewing their memberships. I almost certainly will not be renewing my membership because it's just a waste of money. I can just buy the decks for $10 or $8 each anyway and pay shipping, and it'll probably be cheaper than buying a membership and getting the decks for free. So the reason why they're on the list is just subpar products as of late, especially. Way too much Madison, to the point where everyone is getting sick and tired of him and his stupid attitude. By the way, he did not have that attitude before when he was doing his original deck with Fury 11. He was actually pretty good. And then there's the fact, of course, their Black Club membership not being worth it. They're not doing anything for members. And overpriced items and a lot of stuff, like card mats for, I know Dan and Dave do overpriced stuff as well, so whatever. And And then, of course, another thing, they've also been talking about this black market thing, but have they done it? No. Just like the whole rewards thing has kind of been on the back burners, it's there, but nobody really knows about it. They don't care to tell people about it. Not like Fear 11's Elite. And it's kind of like, they're not really committed to doing stuff that they say they're going to do. Takes forever to do it, and it's just, I'm getting tired of it. I know other people are. So, you know, a lot of issues, and buying for it, probably the worst one on the list, even though they haven't screwed people over like some of these Kickstarter creators. They're still screwing people over anyway, one way or another. So that is that. Let me know what you think. See you next time. And I apologize if it's a bit long.